Hi there. I'm so glad you've joined me. I'm Sarah Phelan. I'm a business strategist and coach, and I'm a former business broker. And I'm so glad that you're here today because this is really all about you, the small business owner, looking at your business from a different perspective and evaluating where you are today, and then figuring out what you want to do or what really needs attention in your business to move you forward. Uh, just to get started, I wanted to sort of start the conversation by asking where you are now. There's no wrong in any of this, and you need to know that whether you're a brand new entrepreneur or you're somebody who's looking at retiring and exiting your business in the next, 12 to 24 months, we're all in the same boat. I've personally worked with hundreds of different industries and businesses, and nobody is going through anything different than you are. We have the exact same frameworks undermining us. However, how we go about our daily business and engage with our customers is all going to be very different, obviously. So if you are currently a small business owner that you want to make some changes, but you're not quite sure where to begin, or you're looking at the economic situation that we're in currently and post COVID and everything else that's happening, and you're saying, I've got to get all of my stuff together and I need to get my business organized, this is the first starting point for you, and I'm so glad that you're taking this step. So let's start here. Raise your hand if being an entrepreneur was tougher than you thought it would be. I can absolutely tell you that it was for me. Um, in 2005, I was the solopreneur with a great idea. I had worked in Banff and in Victoria in specialty outdoor stores. And so I here was in Atlantic Canada in a small university town. And I said, I want to, have my own shop. I was in a community of 2,500 people, and I had been a corporate trainer in the telecom industry and took a step back to have a child and figure it out. And you can see that's a picture of my daughter Lily at 9 months old when I opened my business. After 5 years of being in business, my largest competitors, the Bass Pros and Cabela's of the world, were moving into my marketplace. Actually, both of them at the same time, which was a little unnerving, and I had to make some decisions. So I decided to cut my losses and I needed to move on and do something else. And at that time, I can tell you, I felt like this. I was looking at the shiny object. I was trying to figure it out. The beach ball would be the foundational business practices I thought I had under control. They were wrapped up in a nice little bow, but there was a lot of things I wasn't paying attention to because I just didn't know. Do you feel that way? So, as I mentioned, corporate trainer in sales, service, and leadership, I became an award-winning entrepreneur. But going through that exit process, I really opened my eyes as to everything I didn't know. And, at that time, I was approached by a business brokerage who asked me to work with them. So I spent the next 4 years selling businesses. And I want you to know I hated it. It was really difficult to meet entrepreneurs that weren't ready for the exit and to talk to people that, everybody believes their business is worth $1 million. And everybody believes that there should be a lineup of people to buy. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. So, I really moved into succession planning with the brokerage, and I still do that to this day. I'm also a certified business and executive coach, and I'm a small business growth strategist. So while I was working with the brokerage, I started getting calls from people saying, hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And I went, oh, I much prefer helping think about the opportunities and what the growth aspect of exiting is and selling that dream and potential to a new buyer than I do ripping apart people's businesses. So I have been doing just that. But I need you to know that no matter the industry that I've worked with and businesses at all stages of the life cycle, We all have the same basic principles of business that we abide by. You know, when you take an MBA, you don't have a different MBA for, you know, manufacturing or for veterinary. I mean, it's still business is business. You have accounting, you have marketing, you have human resources. So we all have an equal playing field at some level. But what I did know and I learned is that we all need to really be exit ready from the day we open our business. And I'm not talking about throwing in the towel or giving up. I'm talking about being organized. You know, if something should happen to you as an individual, if something was to happen to somebody in a leadership role in your team, is your business prepared to and organized so that it can manage that influx? So a couple of alarming things that came up for me over the last little bit. You know, Canadian Federation of Independent Business had posted somewhere that 60% of all new owners will go bust within the first 3 years. And I thought, okay, that's a chilling statistic. But then I got this one. According to Industry Canada, the main reason for business failure is inexperienced management. So managers do not have the experience, knowledge, or vision to run their business. Well, you know, I can't help you with the experience, but the knowledge and really clarifying your vision, that I can help you with. So I have witnessed two main obstacles for all entrepreneurs that I've ever worked with, and myself included. Number one is that we don't know what we don't know. And number two is that we don't talk about it enough. So let's tackle number one. And this is where the Evalu8 self-audit checklist comes in. Over the next little bit here, I'm going to talk you through my framework, the Evalu8 framework that I built when I was a business broker so that I could really get to the nitty gritty of what was going on and open up all those closets and get those skeletons out, way past what the financial obligations of you know, your accounting is doing. So I want you to know that this framework is complete. There shouldn't be anything else in your business that's going on that doesn't fit within this framework. Although in the self-audit that you'll have downloaded, it's just below this video or on the website if you haven't got it. It's really about you owning this checklist. If there are things on there that you want to expand on, add it. If there's things you want to remove them. You'll notice, and we'll talk about it at the end, that some of this won't be applicable to you at all. If it's not applicable, just say it's not applicable and leave it there. I highly suggest that you look at your business from a completely different perspective, almost as if you didn't know it. Answer the questions and spend some time on it. Are you ready? Not yet. So auditing your own business and getting organized, it's about learning what you don't know. Sometimes we just get so caught up working in our businesses that we're not working on it. And I want you to know that's totally normal too. As a solopreneur, you're balancing so many different things and you're not always aligned on what's coming down the road or even the things that aren't comfortable. So we're going to talk about some of those aspects of your business that may not have been comfortable, so you've kind of let slide. Business is a process. I like to start by saying this. This is not something that, you know, we can manage in our heads long term. You really need to put it on paper and make it real, especially if you want to look at the planning process. And, you know, if you couldn't work, is your business currently set up that you could say, hey, I can't go in, or I've, you know, got something going on and I need to head to Africa. Can your employees or your team or somebody go in and look after your business and have an idea of what's going on? And of that, if you want to secure new investment or you want to exit your business, you need to get organized. And I know I keep saying that, but I'm really hoping you're hearing me, because that is the number one concern or issue when I went in as a business broker on how to get people out. And inevitably, somebody would say to me every time, I wish we'd had this conversation with you a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, but we didn't have it. And they didn't make the right decisions because they didn't know. So I want you to know what you should know. So here's the framework. It's knowing where you're starting from. So the checklist is for today. I highly suggest you do that checklist every 6 to 12 months. Put it in your calendar, set it for a remind, and do it again with fresh eyes every time, because you'll see a pattern occur and you'll know more, and you'll be conscious of the changes and the things that you want to accomplish as you move forward. So the first pillar in my framework is entrepreneurial leadership. Now, this isn't just about you being the key holder and paying the rent. This is about you having the vision for your company. What do you want to accomplish, and what's your purpose? It's also about your entrepreneurial mindset. You know, it's not easy. We all have our ups and downs. And at some point, we've just got to keep reinventing ourselves. But you need to be surrounded by the right people, and you need to have the right drive to keep you going, because that vision is everything to your business. And when we think back to that Industry Canada study that I just showed you, vision is one of the top 3 reasons why people don't fail, because they don't know. So what is your vision? What's your dream look like? What's your mission? What are you doing for your customers to make that vision happen? And then what's your purpose? Really, what are you there for? That alone is foundational for everything else we're going to talk about. So you're going to see how that ties in. So the second one of my pillars is revenue streams. Now, this isn't just the products that you sell or the supply chain that feeds your products. It's about your pricing and your profit margins. And do you have a true cost of goods? This is, we've already talked about our purpose. Well, if our purpose is to sell widgets, what do the widgets look like? How much do they cost? And who is our market for each one of those widgets? So we're going to talk about market and sales a little bit on, but you'll see that all 8 of these pillars actually fall almost in equal spacing of importance in your business. Not one is less than the other, and they all relate to the other. I do suggest you work through the checklist from top to bottom, because you'll notice questions that you'll answer in number 1 will have a related question in the 3rd or 4th pillar as well. Operations. So we've talked about your vision. We've talked about your revenue streams. Now we're going to talk about how you actually facilitate making money. So this is your org chart. This is about your workflow. This is about your capacity. And I like to start by asking what's not negotiable. As a small independent retailer, my staff used to get really upset with me because they'd say, well, Sarah, all you want us to do is clean. I'm like, well, your role is really 70% of your job. I was selling $700 coats. You couldn't have a dirty floor or dust on my hangers. It had to be part of their workflow to make sure that that happened and that I was following up on that. So let's talk about who's in what role. Actually, let's take that back a second. I don't want to know who's in what role. I want to know what the role is. It doesn't matter who specifically or what skill sets they have. It's actually the organizational chart that talks about the roles that are required to meet your customers' need and to keep your business going. So that leads into the 4th pillar, which is team. Now, it's more than just being compliant or hiring or firing or managing performance. It's all of it. It really is. And you know what? If you don't have that vision and your team aren't buying into that vision, what are they doing there? You know, I've heard a lot of conversations lately about quietly quitting. Well, those organizations, I can almost bet that they haven't engaged their team to live, eat, breathe their mission, which is exactly what you need to do. If your team is not on board with serving your customer and your vision and goals for the future, then you need to do some work on getting that turned around, or you need to really be honest with yourself if they're a good fit. I know that it's hard to find good people, but setting them up for success is so important to the long game for you and for them. There's lots of opportunity here. In the my larger program, the team checklist is actually over 150 points. And it's really, you know, it's encompassing because if we don't have people in our business who are doing what we need them to do in our business, what are they there for and why are we paying them? This is a hard conversation. Answer it honestly. So the next pillar for me, and it's not conventional, customer experience. You know, we all talk about, you know, well, that's more of marketing or that's more sales related. You know, no, it's not. And it's not for those departments either. It's for you as the entrepreneur. When was the last time you connected with your customer? And I'm not thinking like, you know, hey, how's it going? What's happening? Is, you know, you're passing in your business, but actually reached out to them to ask them their opinion of their experience with your organization. I can tell you it's probably not been something that happens very often. I love this as a pillar because unless we're getting that raw data from our customers, we may be missing a huge opportunity. It's not for sales. It's not to discuss, you know, our next marketing strategy. It's to ask them how they actually went through an experience with us. And it's really important that you ask the questions and just listen. You're not to respond. You're not to get involved. You're just to ask the questions. Learning and just absorbing that information will allow you to really look at it from the customer's experience and make the changes that need to be made so that you can get more customers and keep them longer. You know, in the retail world, we sort of said, you know, it's 7 times harder to get a new customer than it is to keep an old customer. Well, if that's the case, what is your customer acquisition cost and where would this come in saving you? By just having some conversations. I highly suggest if you're not doing it yet, at least 1 to 2 customer experience conversations a month. Okay, so this brings us to sales and marketing related to customer experience, related to our vision, related to our mission. It's everything. It sounds like this is where we all put in all of our effort for the most part, because if we don't have customers, we don't have a business. And that makes sense. But understanding really clearly who our customer is and having that buyer persona, having a budget that we spend on marketing so that we know that our customer acquisition costs are. I like to see a calendar. Build out 12 months in advance. Do you know where you're going? Strategic partnerships or joint ventures, referrals, and what tools do you have in place to use and strategies are you up on? Sales and marketing is only one of the 8 pillars, but it's the one that we think of the most when we think about business. So I want you to be honest here. Really get clear about what you've got. Okay, finance. This is always everybody is like, oh my gosh, Sarah, I don't want to discuss this. And I think it's really important that you know when you can say yes. I've had clients where I've gone in and I've said, okay, so tell me about your financials. And as a business broker, it's the very first thing I look at. I review the numbers. The numbers tell me over the last 3 years exactly what happened in the business. And then I can sit down and have a true conversation with you about the actual occurrences and the things that happened to make those numbers change. Being able to read those numbers is so important. If you don't know how to do that, you might want to book an appointment with your accountant as soon as possible to learn what those say. In the Evalu8 coaching programs and the online learning, we dive into this so much that line by line what's going on. Because at the end of the day, it's a hard lesson, but your accountant and your bookkeeper are not responsible for your business. And if you or anybody that you know has ever had an issue with, the tax or false reporting or errors in reporting or monthly statements, you know that once you pay the accountant or the bookkeeper, you assume all responsibility for what's on that page. And they actually have a line item that says this is based on your assumptions. Well, if you're not clear with your assumptions, this is not something that's going to work well for you. I've often been told, well, Sarah, it's not something I'm good at. So people said to outsource it. I get it. I do. I totally do. And I know you get busy in your business, but I want you to really be clear that by the time you outsource it, you already know how to follow the numbers. And you know line by line what those assumptions are. Now everybody's going to go running off to their accountant and try and figure out what that looks like. But it's important. And that's why it's my seventh pillar. The last one is strategic planning. And this is just putting a bow on everything. We have a vision. We have a product that we're selling. We have a way that we're going about completing that sales process. We have a team that's helping us, or sometimes it's just you, in which case you wear all hats. And you have customers that you can talk to about it. You've got sales and marketing where you can target them and you can get in front of them so that you're reminding them and keeping top of mind. And then we have our finances, which are sort of the follow-up of that loop. But none of it happens if we don't plan. And for those people that have been my customers before, that CEO time I've got up there is so important. When are you spending time working on your business? Not in it, on it. Organizing yourself, making your list, forecasting what's coming. And when do you have a life? Being an entrepreneur is not a 9 to 5, close the door, move on and forget about it. It's really something that you have to work at. And for those people that reach that work-life balance, that's because they're planning and they're getting organized. I want you to do that too. Now, there is a lot to cover here. Before you hop into the checklist, I want you to make me a promise that you're not going to try and do everything on that list in the next week. That's not what it's for. There's actually 52 points in this checklist. I've had some clients tell me that they're doing it on a weekly basis, so I copied them. You'll notice on our social on Facebook and LinkedIn, if you follow us, that we actually put out a question as the CEO in your company. Think about this question and share it with another small business owner. You prioritize that checklist. So at the end of it, pick it just a little bit and knock it off. You can start something, you can delegate something, but schedule that weekly CEO time so that you can look at nothing but those goals. I always suggest at least 1 hour. I had a really incredible businessman say to me one day that he takes 2 hours every Saturday morning, and he ran like 4 or 5 businesses at the same time. And he said, during the week, I'm putting out fires, I'm going in different directions, but that 2 hours is sacred, and my family doesn't bother me. I don't talk to anybody, my staff, nobody knows. I just close myself off, and I sit down and I think about my business. He said that one goal and that one activity, he said, saves me a ton of time and gets me organized for where I'm going. I started implementing that myself, and it made a big difference. So I'd like it to make a difference for you too. Okay, here's the checklist. When you download it, you'll notice it looks like this. You've already promised not to do everything at once. I have made this specifically for entrepreneurs because I know how our minds think. We're going in 5 directions and we don't have time to really think about it. So I'm asking for 15 to 30 minutes to do this on the initial. But if you can see here, so questions 1 through 6, I've got them color blocked based on the pillar. So column A would have entrepreneurial leadership, and then we move down to revenue streams, etc. What I really wanted to point out is here. Do you have it? Does it exist? Is it's a yes, no, or not applicable? Again, if it's a yes, answer yes. If it's not applicable or no, don't delete it. You can add more lines if you wish. I've done this in Excel spreadsheet just so that you can manipulate it and it's quick and easy to look at. But next to that, I have priority. On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being urgent and 5 being not at all urgent, rate that activity and then think it through. There's a note section, what are your aspirations? What do you want from your business? In column A, with each one of the headings, you'll also notice that it asks for your overall health. So I want to know, if you are answering all these questions that they're not urgent, not activities that you want to do, and you put in a 50% health, what's the difference? Give me some notes. There needs to be some discussion with yourself about being honest. If you think you're only 50% healthy there, you've got some things to work on. So there's some opportunities. Now, listen, there's no wrong in any of this. And I think it's really important that we talk about it. So the second obstacle or challenge that I see with all entrepreneurs is that we kind of hide away and we don't say what we really need to say, or that we haven't got a really safe place to have that discussion. So I want you to know that you need to talk about it. Entrepreneurship is riddled with depression, isolation, anxiety, and in turbulent times, it's only worse. Please take some time to have a conversation, challenge somebody else to do the audit checklist. And I'm sure you can share at least one fire or, success story. There's something going on that you can have a conversation about and you can learn from each other. And that's really my goal. So take the right steps and make the changes. Evolving your business doesn't happen just because there's an issue. It happens when you get help, and the right help. So if you do the checklist and you find that you need to hire a consultant to help you with your human resources, or you need somebody to help you with your strategic planning, or you need to really revisit what that pricing model is because everything has changed in your world and you haven't changed either. But talk to your peers. It doesn't happen alone. Most places have, a chamber of commerce or a local regional economic development agency, somebody that can help you or put you in touch with other people who are on the same journey as you. It's about getting involved. It's about making the changes. Implementation is only one piece. Being strategic, keeping your eye on the prize and what your vision is. And then increasing your business value. If you do all of that, there is no way that you're not going to be organized to increase your business value. And if you decide that you're ready to transition, you have something to talk about. When I went through this process and using my framework with small businesses owners that were looking at exiting, there were so many gaps and so many holes that were just unnecessary. But it hurt their bottom line and it didn't give them as much of a return or a value on their business. So this is your opportunity to get organized and get really clear on making that all work together. And exit on your terms, not because you have to. So I want to come back to this real quick. So Industry Canada says that a lack of experience, knowledge, and vision are the main causes for failure. You now have the knowledge. You've got the basis of the knowledge. And you're going to clarify your vision. I know you are. So it comes down to organizing your business and managing your CEO time. If you did those two activities, you'd be that much further ahead. So my hope and my goal in having this free masterclass and doing the work that I do is to really start a different conversation. You know, share this with your friends and get them to take up the challenge. If you'd like to dive deeper, we do offer a much more detailed and it's huge. It's an online training program. It's all about business analysis with strategic planning built in. So it's that checklist only on steroids, and it goes through each part of your business in depth. As a business broker, I created this process simply so that I knew exactly what I had to sell and what I could get potential buyers to really dream about. Because that's the goal. You know, if you're selling a house, you don't want them to see the leaky roof. You need to talk to them about the beautiful marble countertops or the things that are really good, and then layer in the things that need some work. I needed to be able to do that too. So the online training is a complete diagnosis of your business. And then we have group coaching programs so that you're not in it alone. It's all about implementation and support to share success and look at things from a different perspective. So that's it for the masterclass. I really hope that, you know, this makes some changes for you and it puts you on a different path and it gets you thinking about your business in a different perspective. Again, share it with somebody else. Start a conversation. There's no wrong. We just need to keep moving forward. And I know you're going to be on the right track now. All the best of luck.